Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Answering a viewer question here. It's Flight Wife 1828. Not sure how to word the question, but here it goes. Will there be any actual investigations into the obvious ethical issues in SCOTUS, specifically Thomas and Alito? Will there be any justice, or are we just going to have to deal with them doing whatever they want? They've gone rogue, full stop. This Supreme Court has the lowest approval rating ever in the history right now. That's a good question. I do understand what you're asking, and I'm more than interested in throwing on it. Just for a background, I think we all know about Clarence Thomas and Harlan Crow and the luxury vacations that the Thomases spent on Crow's dime, being flown around the world. Page of Swords. People are letting information out on that one, by the way. And, you know, just trying to feign ignorance. Like, oh, I was told once by some random person 30 years ago I didn't have to report this. Dude, you're a Supreme Court justice. You know better. These excuses don't... That's a Page of Swords excuse right there, pal. Don't act like you're innocent and don't know what's going on. Now, with Alito, the one story that I've heard about him, I didn't do much more research on it, but just to get a flavor of it, was he took a fishing trip to Alaska back in 2008 or so. And it was a hedge fund billionaire named Singer. Last name is Singer, I believe. And he and who was it? Leo. Trying to see who the name is here. Sorry, I forget. Leo something. Pause. Unpause. Leonard Leo. Such a smooth production here, eh? I made the arrangements for it. But long and short, he flew on a private jet to go to Alaska. He knows he can't do that. That's not allowed. And he did not report this fishing trip that he spent up there. And then he sat on a dozen cases brought on by this billionaire before the Supreme Court, claiming that, oh, I didn't know that he was a member, he was the lead of this hedge fund. That doesn't fly. Not only doesn't it not fly, first off, you didn't report the trip. That's a problem right there. And you took a flight that you knew you weren't supposed to do. So you already know you're covering it. And now you expect us to believe you didn't know that this billionaire was a hedge fund owner and that his cases came before you? Boy, you're really lazy, aren't you? Maybe we need less lazy people in the Supreme Court. Thomas, Alito, people who actually take their job seriously. This is the kind of crap that would get federal workers fired and thrown in prison. So, justice. Will there be any justice? Will there be any investigations into Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito for their actions? For entertainment purposes only, of course. Wouldn't want to get sued by these lazy justices, now would we? Okay. Shall we throw on them individually? Let's throw them on individually. I mean, normally I would want to throw on them collectively. Actually, we can do a collective run first, but I want to do them individually because one person may get investigated, the other person may not. Ginny Thomas. All right, so what's going on with these justices and their ethics? King of Swords. Okay, Justice Department's going to look into it. I don't know if this means Jack Smith personally. He's kind of busy right now with January 6th and the Mar-a-Lago documents case. However, for Clarence Thomas and his wife Ginny Thomas, this could very well overlap into January 6th. So this probably is Jack Smith. It certainly represents the Department of Justice looking into it. Crossed by the Knight of Cups. The Department of Justice might come up and say, "Here, kitty, 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 I got a little something for you." Pow! I think the Department of Justice is going to reach out. They're going to reach out to the Supreme Court to, voluntarily explain what's going on. Probably have already done so. Oh, look, there's that Page of Swords again that popped up earlier. Okay, this is Alito. This is the folks on the Supreme Court who are acting unethically and playing this, oh, we didn't know card. You know, we're outsiders. We've never done the law before. We had no idea we were breaking the law. Yeah, BS, pal. You guys knew exactly what you were doing. Feigning ignorance is ridiculous and actually should be a disqualifying element as to you being on the Supreme Court. If you can't report your travel and who's donating to you, that simple thing, and you want to feign ignorance or yeah. No, you don't deserve to be on the Supreme Court. Flat out. You just don't deserve to be there. We want our Supreme Court justices to actually know the laws that they're interpreting and ruling on that impacts everybody else. Current situation is the world. I believe they are under scrutiny right now. Their actions are coming to an end. These actions, these unethical actions, are coming to an end. They are being scrutinized. And mind you, the U.S. is not the center of the world by any stretch of the imagination, but being the biggest economy and having a lot of world influence means that corruption at the Supreme Court impacts the world. Because if the U.S. is corrupt and our highest court is corrupt, where does the corrupt... If we can't even be honorable, then how can we expect anybody else in the world to be honorable? It's just... and I think it's just an example of the corruption that it maybe is throughout the world. And we're going to be the pimple of corruption, waiting for that zit to be exploded. There's a vision. Sorry, everybody. There's the Whitehead right there, too. Okay, Page of Wands is the overarching energy. This is a new investigation. This is now looking at the Supreme Court differently. This is looking at the ethics violations and going forward with that investigation after reaching out to them. 2 pages here so far in a night. Overarching energy is the 3 of Wands. I think the heat is going to start being turned up on justices who have not been acting ethically. There is going to be fallout for this as the information comes out. It's a lesson to be learned. If you can't do the job, then... Or you can't even bother... No, if I was about to say can't even bother to cover up, but that's not the point. You're not supposed to cover it up. If you cannot even do the honest and integral things that are expected out of you, expect that you're going to lose that position. Outcome, Ace of Cups. I think there is going to be a lot of passion that's brought with this. Again, Flight Wife mentioned that this court has the lowest approval rating of any Supreme Court ever. And with their rulings that they've done recently, by the way, the next card that came up is, I accidentally saw it, was the 7 of Cups. With the rulings, they're really bringing out people's passions because we are now looking at this Supreme Court as not being integral. They have no integrity, and it looks like they've been bought. Underneath it all, Knight of Swords. There's going to be investigations coming, and their investigations are going to happen quickly. This could, he's charging. There could be charges coming because of this. How quickly? I don't know. I'd like to say very quickly, but, funny thing about time is what's quick for me may not be quick for spirit and for things to go on. To integrate fully. But I think what we are going to see, though, is we're going to start seeing investigations looking into these claims. I don't think this is going to get swept under the rug. So that's kind of the general energy. Now, let's dive into the lovely players that we have here. Who shall we start off with? Thomas or Alito? I kind of want to start off with Alito. I've done readings on Thomas, but Alito might be the flavor du jour. Samuel. All right, Mr. Alito, you and your fishing trip. Hope you had a good time there. Wouldn't it be funny if the page comes up? You can look at that fish a different way. What's going to happen with Samuel Alito? Again, for entertainment purposes only. Samuel Alito, what's going to happen with you? Okay, well, here come the accusations, and here he is trying to fight them off. Come at me, bro. But he's got the advantage. But there's going to be a lot of fighting. There's going to be a lot of argy-bargy and stuff like this that he tries to fight off. So, yeah, you've got the advantage, but these wands are coming at you from all different angles. And I think what this represents is that the Knight of Swords underneath the general situation as investigations come out, there's going to be a lot of turmoil that comes out that he's going to try and fight. Now, again, from the logical brain, do not expect a whole heck of a lot to happen with these guys before 2024. They're not going to resign if they can avoid it. They're not going to retire if they can avoid it, because they want to see if the Republicans can take the presidency and the Senate so that they can nominate new justices and get those through. Underneath it all, by the way, is the Six of Swords. So he's going to try and navigate out of this mess that he's in. I don't know if he's going to be successful because there's a lot of energy fighting him here. And there we go. Investigation. Here we go. The Chariot. Information's out. Investigations have started. They're going to go forward. He's not going to be able to stop the momentum of what's going on. Between the bad behavior and the exposed bad behavior, and then all these 6-3 Supreme Court rulings, infringing upon people's rights, like the LGBTQ community, getting rid of affirmative action, so on and so forth. They have brought the spotlight on themselves, and they're going to bring the consequences. Would not be surprised to see the karmic card come in here. Fool, current situation. Well, you made some mistakes, and you didn't own them. You were foolish never to report that in the first place. And now that the investigations have started, it's a little late now. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. So you might be taking a step off the cliff there. It was a foolish thing to do. You had a lifetime appointment. All you had to do was report these trips and then recuse yourself from cases. By the way, that Singer case, one of the cases out on against Argentina, won 7-1. Alito didn't need to be on. It would have been 6-1 in favor of that hedge fund. So you've done this to yourself. I think he's worried about all the work that he's done. I'm just trying to get my work done. I'm trying to push forward conservative values, so on and so forth. But he's undone himself with this. And his body of work overall is going to be called into question because of ethical concerns, refusals to recuse himself when he should have, ethical lapses, basically. So I think he's concerned about his legacy and his work being undone. Lesson to be learned is the Emperor. Department of Justice is going to come in. Biden's going to come in. History is going to look at this guy, and it's not going to be favorable because of the choices that he's made, and expect that the Emperor's kind of like his seat on the Supreme Court. This is the authority figures coming in here. This is what he should be, is somebody who's sitting on the court and judging on things based on their merits. But in this case, because of his foolish decisions and this Chariot investigation, it's going to impact his seat, and expect a removal. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a retirement, but it's not going to be a retirement under his terms. Outcome, King of Cups. Guess who's going to get to nominate your replacement, fool? That's going to be Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to win on this one. Again, they're trying... Alito's going to try, and probably the Federalist Society are going to try very hard to calm things down, but there's too much energy going on here. It stirred stuff up. And his foolish act is going to allow Biden to replace him, because the investigations are going to remove him from his seat. Okay. Pull you back up here. Again, I don't have a very good timeline, nor I'm not asking, nor am I reading on timelines. I've tried it a couple of times, and I'm wildly off. So we'll just have to go with the qualitative answer as opposed to the quantitative answer. You know, is he going to suffer the consequences? Yes, no. When? Who knows? Logically, I can't see a situation where he's removed before 2024. He won't leave voluntarily before 2024. You know, you're only looking at another 5-6 months anyways, right? Well, it's more than that. It's more like a year. No, 6 months to 2024, but really it's November of 2024 because that's when the elections happen. And if the Republicans somehow manage to take the presidency, he'll announce his retirement effective February 1st or something like that, giving the new president an opportunity to replace him with another even more conservative young judge that'll be on there for 50 years, sending us back to the dark ages. For entertainment purposes only. Justice Thomas. You know, it's one of those things where you really do have to hold your leaders to a higher level of ethical standards than you do the average person, because they have that much more power and influence. So they need to be held to account even more greatly than the average person. And the reason for that is because, as we know from the adage, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you don't hold them accountable, that's the path we go down. Justice Thomas. I think that's come up before for him. Naivete, but I think that's more looking back to the good old days. He, liked it much better in the 90s where he could sexually harass Anita Hill and get away with it, and everybody was okay and good with it. I think also we know that this, I love the affection of this card, to be honest with you. As negative as I want to dump on Clarence Thomas, this is actually a really wonderful, affectionate card. And this might be his relationship with his wife and, the emotional love that they have for each other. And his wife has been up to shenanigans, up to her hips and neck in shenanigans. So not only with his unethical behavior with Harlan Crow, but his wife's unethical behavior probably will be his undoing. So I think this is going to be about him and his wife and their foolish acts. And again, review this two ways. The foolish things that this couple has done, that's going to bring their demise. But you can also look at it as they're going to have a new adventure together. I don't think it's going to be an adventure in an incarceration, but I think it's she's going to probably, he's going to be out of the Supreme Court, and then probably whatever pack that she leads or something like that, she's going to have to leave that too. And then the two of them can go off and live their life together. We should all be married to our best friend. And again, and I mean this with all seriousness and sincerity. Whatever you think of Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas, they clearly like each other and they love each other a lot. But they're also kind of like the same person. They've got this same outlook. Think of them this way. And I've used this analogy before, but I'll use it again. Think of them as, in a past life, that they're nobility. It's the lord and the lady of the manor. And you can pick either one of them to be the lord or the lady. Maybe Jenny was the lord in that one. That last one, and Clarence was the lady. But regardless, lord and lady, they're up here. The rest of us are a bunch of peasants, and we're down here. They don't have, if you look at their behavior and the arrogance and the entitlement and such, and the how dare you question what I do type thing, it's like questioning a lord. So picture them having that medieval times energy of the lord and the lady versus the peasants. It explains a lot of the arrogance. What we would call it arrogance. Before then, it was just what they're entitled to. I think I had a point somewhere in there. But they're going to have their journey together. Regardless, I'm glad they have each other, and that's wonderful. I wish they had conducted themselves with higher energy and higher intention. Queen of Cups in the past. Okay, so this is keeping the hush on things. Ginny's actions with January 6th, Clarence Thomas's actions with Harlan Crow. They've been able to keep that under wraps, and people didn't know about it. Jenny was all over the place with January 6th. I remember that she had hired a bunch of buses to bring protesters to January 6th, but obviously a lot of reporting was done to show that it didn't stop there. Current situation is the Star. I think their star is fading. They are both under investigations for different things. Jenny especially, with the January 6th committee. I know that she testified before the January 6th committee. Now I say January 6th committee, I mean the Jack Smith investigation. I'm sorry. January 6th committee was the one that Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger were on. She did go and testify, and there was reports that the Cheneys, Liz Cheney and Ginny Thomas were very good friends. And the reporting was they weren't so good friends afterwards because Liz Cheney could see just how corrupt Ginny Thomas was. We'll see if that's, I don't know if we'll ever know that for a fact or not, but that's just something I heard. Let's park that for a second. But I think their star has fallen. They were Judge Thomas has been on the Supreme Court for 30 years. He's been a star and a darling of the Republican Party. Ginny Thomas has had a PAC that Harlan Crow helped fund. Good God, to help influence. So this is like their influence with the Republican Party. But I think their star is starting to fade here because of this foolish journey that they've taken. Is he going to be held to account? They're going to look at his agreements. They're going to look at the agreements and the relationships that the Thomases have. And I think by looking at these agreements and Thomas's ability to rule on things in the Supreme Court is going to lead to their new journey. These will be looked at, these will be found, these will be addressed. Another two. What's the kind of the take-home point of this? He was juggling the best interests of the country versus his best interests. Should I rule for this or should I rule for me? And it causes all sorts of dilemmas. And probably he's now in a big dilemma, just like Alito. He's probably starting to get pressure to resign his position. Again, there's other readers have seen health issues with him. And he probably would like to retire, but he dare not. Not with Joe Biden in office. So he's got to continue doing things he doesn't really want to be doing at this point because he doesn't want to give that star power to the Democrats. He wants to keep it with the Republicans. So again, just like Alito, expect that he's going to try and hang on until the election in 2024. And there's him holding on. Strength card. I think he's got the strength, the health and the strength to hold on through these investigations. But assuming that the Democrats take the presidency in 2024, he's going to give up the ghost. I don't think he's got it in him to last any longer than that. He's not a spring chicken by any stretch, but I think he's got enough strength and resolve to get through this. Underneath it all is that Knight of Cups. We talked about them taking their a new journey, a foolish journey. I think this is, the Department of Justice coming in with offers. I believe that they'll investigate him, and they will probably come to him when they've completed their investigation to say, hey, this is what we have on you. What are you going to do about it? They'll play nice with him because He's been a Supreme Court justice for 30 years. And he will get a different set of rules than the rest of us. Sorry, I disagree with that. But let's face facts. That's the way it is. I think, that could even be Chief Justice Roberts going to him and saying, hey, you got to go. It's not fair. It's not right, but it is what we've got. And until we have more members on the Supreme Court, such that losing a single member isn't a huge loss to one political party or the other. And the Supreme Court's not supposed to be political. It's supposed to be apolitical. Forgot about that, huh? He'll just be treated differently. He'll be given kid gloves and he won't be held accountable for it. It's just our celebration is going to have to be when we read the news that he's gone. That's probably the best we'll get out of that. I'm sorry I don't see the justice card popping up in here anywhere, but sometimes the justice that we want to see is not the justice that we get. That's just the way life is. Okay, so thank you for sticking with me through this very long reading. I really do appreciate your support. Thank you again to Flight Wife for the question. A lot of people thumbed it up, so I wanted to get on that one. Thank you for supporting my channel. I really do appreciate your comments and your likes and your thumbs up, your words of encouragement. It really does keep me motivated to make more videos. And with that, I will say bye-bye. Have a great day, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.